So as I said just before, it will be a complete day of practice. Okay, so we are going to work with a monthly time series Siska sent me last week. So it will be more difficult, of course, but probably also more challenging for everyone. So let us open GD+. Okay, so I share my screen. Is it okay? You see everything? Yeah. Wonderful.
Yes.
So you can do the same. We are going to work together if you don't mind. And after I will give some times for everyone to do the same thing, to redo things. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is to load the data. So you go to, I don't know where is the monthly data on your computer, but I'm going to open it. I already did, in fact. I already put a star on it. So I have already my data in GD+. So I give you some time just to load the data. You remember the file was named ASEAN monthly trade data or trade monthly data. Okay. So you load it and you should find this the sheet is named the trade, and you have for every country plus ASEAN, you have all the data, the import, the exports, and the total. Okay, so I leave you some time to load the data. I leave you a couple of minutes. Do not hesitate to say if something is wrong. We will stop immediately because it's important today for you to follow exactly what I'm doing. Just after a weekend, you need some reminders, I guess. Okay. So what I suggest is that I'm going to work with you first on the ASEAN data. And after perhaps we will work on them for, let us say, 15 minutes. I don't know exactly. And after, I will ask you to redo exactly the same thing for your country, exactly the same. And when you see a problem somewhere, you send a question on the chat, and we will discuss the problem together, okay? If you have a questions, things like that. So we have time, we have 3 hours, so we can do a lot of things in 3 hours. Do not hesitate to ask questions. I'm here to try to answer. Even if you forgot something, I can do a short playback, if I can say so, just to give you the background, the methodological background, for example. Okay, so I take it that everyone load the data. So I do as me, so you can work, for example, on the ASEAN total. We will work on that, okay? So if I want to do, just for example, I want to compare the growth rate of the exports and the imports. Very simple thing. If I want to do that, just a short reminder, I have to use the tools, container, growth chart, growth chart. I open it, so I have a window here, okay? And I can put here, for example, M are the imports, so I put the imports here, okay? So you can see immediately that it's much more erratic than quarterly data. Here, this is the month-to-month growth rate. So you also have a seasonal component in it. So, and here I put the exports, okay? So I can compare the exports and the imports, okay? They look pretty in the same direction every time. So, but Okay, so you succeeded to do it. So let me now change the reference. I want, for example, the annual growth rate instead of a monthly growth rate. So I go to kind. So right click on the graph window, right click, you have a small window that appears. You go to kind and you can change kind to previous year. Okay, so you do it and you have a completely different, you see a completely different behavior. So you see that you had a good period, if I can say so, between 2016 and 2018, 2 nice years with a lot of exports and a lot of imports. I remind you that the exports are in green and the imports are in orange, okay? So basically, the import are in orange. So basically, you import more than you export, roughly, and things are going not so well since 2018, where you see that you have a completely different behavior of the annual growth rate. But you know exactly the situation because you are studying the ASEAN data for years now, so you know. But as I told you, the problem with this kind of representation is that because you work on the annual growth rate, you have here probably something which is not so good. To check that, let me just double click on the series. Okay, for example, the imports. Remember that the imports in my growth chart are in orange. So I double click on ASEAN. It gives me the graph. So if I check that, okay. So I can see that my series is very seasonal, at least at the beginning. We can see here the peaks, and probably the peaks are at the beginning, yes, in February too, in February, it's linked probably to, in January here. So we can see here probably, I don't know, but probably it moves from February to January and then to February, perhaps an effect of the Chinese New Year. We will see that. I will prepare a specific regressor for the Chinese New Year. I will prepare it probably for Wednesday. I will show you how I did it. And this one, you will be able to use it, okay? Probably, I will show you. And here you have, okay. Here, so you can see that in the first part of the series, the seasonal component is pretty, seasonal component or calendar effects, I don't know at the moment, okay, is pretty evident. And after here, it's not evident at all. After 2018, things are really different, not only because of a crisis. You can see that the structure of a time series is moving, okay? So what happened in 2000, it was 16, in fact. What happened in this part between 2016 and 18? Do you have something specific? No? We still see, by the way, the short throw, a small throw in February. Is there a specific event in the ASEAN that could explain that the regular behavior we observed between 2011 and 2016 seems to disappear? No? Siscal, yeah? Fatur? Is there any reason for that? I mean, a political reason, a statistical reason?
Uh, For me, I don't know exactly. It's maybe member state, no. But I saw that in 2016, China economy is going down. I think 2016.
Yeah, but why?
Um,
Okay, but why would it have an impact on the data generating process? You see what I mean? It's not as regular. It's just more erratic after. Is there a problem in data collection? A change in data collection? No?
mm,
No, no, that you know?
No, as far as I process it, there's no, it's only a revision, but not
Okay,
for
okay.
2000.
Okay. But why a China recession would imply a change in ASEAN imports? Just question. I mean, just to show you.
Because China is
Yeah.
your
Excuse me.
voice is very small, Siska. China is the most.
Yeah, the connection is not stable.
Partner.
The main trading partner for ASEAN.
No, anyway, you see that when someone like me look at a series, when you look at the series, you can see things. I'm not saying that it's important things, okay? I'm just saying that, okay, I saw some things that for me, it's not really the same data generating process. Something changed in 2016, okay? After you have it seems that you have a different shape of the series. So the consequence is that when we are going to seasonally adjust the series, we might have a big change, a big evolution in the seasonal factors, and therefore I can expect right now some bad M statistics in for M8 to M11 concerning the evolution of the seasonal factor. So just when I look at the data, I have some, you see, you can see really, you can learn a lot from the data. Okay, you can see probably an effect, a calendar or seasonal effect. We will have to check that. You can see this somehow, this break. It's not a break, but it's different. And so if I was working with ASEAN data, I would investigate what happened before and after. What is the difference? What is the reason? Okay, you tell me this is the evolution of a Chinese economy. I would say, okay, so let us put the graph of the Chinese PIB, for example, just to know of the Chinese exports, just to know how it is related to this series. You see the kind of question I will have in mind when I study a time series. But anyway, this is, so we might have some difficulties. Perhaps, do you have any questions at this stage?
Yeah, Dominique, perhaps because ASEAN trade data is based on the submission from ASEAN 10 member countries. We also can look for the reason behind why the fluctuation between 2011 until 2016 until 2000.
It will be better for you because probably, I don't know what we are going to find in the member state data. And the question is not to point out a problem or whatever. The question for me is just to understand the series and to anticipate potential problem in the adjustment, you see. And what I want to stress is that when you have a graphical analysis, you can already see a lot of things. The difference is that, of course, with the eye, you cannot quantify things, okay? But you can see that something, I'm not, when I say something is wrong, I do not want to, I mean, nobody is guilty. I'm just saying that the series, it's very, this kind of shape, you know, a break in the middle of a series, and sometimes a different time series on the left and on the right. It's very, very usual in European time series. For example, when you have a rebasement, when you do a big statistical change in the methodology, a rebasement, and change in the classification, things like that, very often you have a break in the series. So it could be, it was the objective of my question, is it a statistical effect? I'm not
perhaps
saying,
we also can identify whether the harmonization, and then the standardization that we apply with this trade data, it's a bit different or something like that. So we have to find from our statistic treatment as well to the data.
Okay, Leah. What I want to stress also, once again, I already said it twice this morning, but I will do it a third time, is that when you look at the data, just a graph, you learn a lot of things. And my advice, a strong advice, is that, and certainly you already do, it's not the question, but you have to keep in mind that it's very important to have a look to the data themselves. So I understand that for the breakdown by product, it could be difficult because you have a lot of products, but at least for the main products and the aggregates, you should have in mind always the form, the shape of your time series. It will help you a lot when you are going to analyze it, okay? And this kind of shape, of course, you cannot see it in the annual growth rate. We will perhaps have a look later, you know, on this period in 2000, at the beginning of 2020, you have a first turning point, a downturn in the economy, okay? You recover, and a second very deep downturn in 2000 in November last year, okay? So November and before, perhaps in October already. So we see that you probably, this is the first wave of the COVID and the second wave, is it that? Do you think this is linked to the COVID crisis? Probably, yeah. No?
Yes, I think, yeah.
And so you can feel at the ASEAN level a first wave and then a second wave starting in September, October. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us continue on this kind of graphic. So I'm going to close the growth chart, the annual growth chart. Or perhaps, yeah, perhaps we can have a first stop now. So I will ask now, if you don't mind, I will ask to the member state to redo exactly the same. So just a chart, just a chart of a series, and the double growth chart between with the exports and the imports. So could you do that for each country present? Can you do that on your own computer? And if you have any question, could you mention that in the chat? And so we can go to your data and try to answer things. Okay? So please do it now. I give you perhaps 5 minutes to do that and to have some feedback from you. Okay? So I saw the chat, in the chat, the message, the mail from Indonesia on the problems in the data for 2018. So we will check that, okay. Don't worry. It's not a big deal, even if you have some problems in the data. I mean, it's just an exercise. So you will be able to redo it with the correct data. So at the moment, I can understand that we have no problem. So I'm still waiting. I will give you 2 or 3 minutes more to do the job. And after we will try to do the adjustment of one series, for example. We certainly are not going to do the job for all the series today. So as I have no reaction on the chat, I can infer that everything is okay. What do you think, Siska, Lia, Fatur?
I have a question on the growth chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is only starting from 2016, yeah.
Yeah,
Mr.
because
Dominique.
you can change it. You can change it, but you can imagine that if you do the complete chart, it might be very busy. So if you are right, for example, the raw data are starting in 2010, and here it just start in 2016. But I guess you can change it. Let me, perhaps in edit last year's, and here you put, you see, you click on edit last year's, and
Okay.
okay. So I will,
Yeah.
I do the 10, okay, just to see, and you see, okay, it's a nice graph, okay, but usually when you do the growth rate, the annual growth rate, you are more concerned with the last data, with the more recent data. So you focus on the last years, but you can change it, okay? Thank you. The question was a good question because
thank you.
We learned that we can do things. So you already had tough years between 2012 and 2016. So you see the wave, the cycle, you can see it, okay? With crisis and...
Dominique,
yeah.
can you do again how to make it
okay.
when you click become the same from 2010?
Okay, so you right click on the graph.
Yes.
In the box, you select edit last year's.
Okay.
And when you have that, you have a small...
okay.
You can precise the number of years, okay?
Okay.
So I put 10 because I have 10. I know I have 11. I could put 11, okay? And up, I have data. Oh, no, it's even if I put 11 because
no data, yeah?
Yeah,
no
I'm taking an annual growth rate. I'm going to lose 1 year, yeah. So
Thank
is
you.
it okay, Leah, now?
Yes, okay, thank you.
Wonderful. So what I'm going to do, because I saw there's still a discussion between Siska and Daisy on the data. So perhaps I'm going to change the data in the file just for so Daisy will be more relaxed. She looks a bit stressed about this
Okay.
error. Sorry, just kidding. Okay, so I will do that for you so you could relax. So let me do that. So where are we? It's in Indonesia. So it's there. So these are the imports. So imports Indonesia, it's there. It's in 2018. So it's, let me just block the, sorry, I'm doing some. So these are these two. So these two imports, these two, yes, it's pretty different. Can I just click on that? And
I'm sorry, Mr. Dominic, it's different year. It's on.
Oh yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, oh yes, it's there and there. Okay. No, I'm not in the right. No, it's incredible. They are incredibly different. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the graph is pretty funny. So I think we should change it.
Why?
Because the graphs is become outlier because it's two times.
Yeah. But if you don't mind, Rizzi, we can. Now I understand you're right. You're definitely right. We should change them. But let us suppose that we do not change them right now, and we will see what happens with the software.
Ah, okay, I see.
Just for the sake of the exercise, and after we will change them. You see what I want to just that some. Let us see if the software is going to detect something wrong somewhere. Okay, and after we will correct them. Let us say just after. Okay. So at the moment, we do not touch them. We will do it later.
Okay.
So
thank you.
This guy will be relaxed because we don't touch the ASEAN data. I did something wrong? No. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to go back to. Okay. Good. So I hope everyone could do it. Okay. So let me now. I will forget about that. I have in mind that I have something different between. You see another comment. If I look at the raw data, so the graph on the top of my screen, I can see things I'm unable to see in the annual growth rate. In particular, I'm not able to see that something had changed in 2016. Something, I mean, in the shape of a series. So it's always good, very good to have a look to the raw data. I'm telling you that, and insist on that, because in my experience, in many institutes, including the INSEE in France, I discovered that very few people are looking at the data. They do not, because I don't know why. Perhaps they have too much work, too many time series, but they do not really look at the data. So please, if you have some time, take some time to do it. You will see that if you don't do it already, it will give you a better knowledge of your time series, and therefore you will be much more efficient when you analyze them. Okay, so I stop on that at the moment, at least, and I'm going to do the adjustment, okay? So here, as you know, but we will do something slightly different. So statistical method, seasonal adjustment, multiprocessing. You always take multiprocessing, even if you have just one series, because the outputs are slightly different, and it's always better in multiprocessing. So they will, in the next version of JDemetra 3, which will be very, very different from this one, probably they will simplify that, and you will have no more single analysis. So let us, okay, we do have it. I'm still tuned on X13, so check that you are tuned on X13. And please, at the moment, you will take, I don't like that, I told you already, but you will take the more complex method, set of parameters. So you will take the RSA5C. So let me remind you what is going to do automatically this set of specification. It will do the automatic detection of a model. Is it an additive or multiplicative model? We'll do the automatic detection and correction of outlier, automatic detection and correction of a calendar effect, but based on the Gregorian calendar, not taking into account the specificity of, let us say, I cannot say national calendar because ASEAN does not have a national calendar, okay? It will also do the automatic adjustment of an ARIMA modeling and after the decomposition. So it's a very, very complex and complete set of parameters. So I check it, I take it, so please take it too, so we can compare the result we will get. And you take the same series, the imports, okay? So, and you enter the imports and you double click on the series, it's enough to run it, okay? So, and you click on the series, not double click. Okay, so I take it that I will give you 1 minute to do it. Is it okay for everyone? Okay, so let me check what's happening. So as you know, I like very much the two graphs, so I'm not going to check it. I'm going to check everything, but my first thing is to look at the graph, because on the graph, for example, on the right part of the graph, as you know, you see the seasonal factor as they are estimated by X13 ARIMA, okay? So what do I have? What do I see? I see that I have a very, very low factor, seasonal factor, which is in February, very, very low, okay? So there's no doubt my series is a seasonal time series. I can go to a test right now. I can go, I will, but there's no doubt, okay? It's so different, the second month from February is so different from the other months that I have no doubt that all the tests should be clear. So let me check that. So diagnostics, seasonality, and I will go to linearized time series. Why? Because I saw also very quickly, I saw that I have 5 detected outliers. In particular, I have outliers, of course, at the end of the series with the COVID effect. So outliers will probably jeopardize a bit the computation of the test. So it's better to use the linearized time series, which is the series from which you removed the outliers and the calendar effects. So if you go to this one, you will see, I'm pretty sure, that of course it's clear that we have a seasonal component. Okay? So I go back on the series. Okay. So what I see also, do not hesitate to send a question, if any, okay? I will try to check the chat box also. So if I have a look to this data, what I can see is there. Look at here. Here I have a peak. Here, it seems to me that we still have some peaks. I don't know what it means, but I still have. So I check that I have a peak in August. So I'm just checking that. Why did I do that? It's just because I was wondering if I do not have a trading day effect due to the Chinese New Year that is not taken into account by the calendar effect we are working on at the moment, okay? So I was checking that. It's not the case. It doesn't seem to be in the 2 first months. Here it's in September, here in January, yes, but here in August, here in August too. So, okay, just checking. So you see after, of course, at the end of a series, it's very, very scarce. And what is really scarce? It's this one. You see? This is the trend cycle, and suddenly you see that the trend cycle is outside the series itself. So it does not, it's not good. I mean, okay, the seasonal adjusted data is still close to the series, but you can see that here your trend estimation is completely insane. It does not make sense. So we will see if we can do something different later, okay? It's a bit complex, so we will see that in the second part of the morning, okay? Let me, because you want to see, I guess, the calendar effects. So let me go to pre-processing now. Do you follow me? No problem? Is it okay? Yeah, it seems to be okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
okay.
follow you.
I continue. So I go to pre-processing. So I didn't ask specifically for the airline model, but I get the airline model, and I'm pretty happy with that. So here you can see, look at that. You can see that you have a trading day effect. So here you have all the statistics, okay? So if we have a look to each T-stat, I remind you that to check the significance of a regressor, for example, the Monday, you are going to compute what we call a student statistics. And if the student statistic is in absolute value larger than two, larger than 2, then you will say that your coefficient is significant, statistically significant. So here you can see that none of the coefficient of the beginning of a week except the Sunday is significant, but the Sunday is significant, okay? So you cannot remove Monday or Tuesday because your calendar effect is the effect of a complete set of days, okay? So you cannot, if one is significant, you should take everything, Okay, you cannot remove it. And you can see that you have here a joint test, which is significant itself. And this one tells you that the global set of regressor is significant. So it's complex. I mean, I understand this is not easy to accept. It just to explain what I'm saying, it just need some mathematics behind to explain you. But let's see that this one is significant, okay? Because it's written that the probability to have a value larger than this one is equal to 0. So this one is very, very high. So you cannot accept the statistical hypothesis that the days are equal. So anyway, so here it's an error that sometimes people are doing. Sometimes if a coefficient is not significant, it does not mean you can remove it. Here you cannot, because if you have a week without Monday, doesn't mean anything. So you must have all the days, okay? And now, second step is to say, okay, does it make sense? Because what is telling you this set of data, this set of estimates, it's just that the activity, so here the imports, are lower during the weekend, lower on Saturday and Sunday. So, of course, I would say that from the economic point of view, it's not, I mean, it's a nonsense. But from the administrative point of view, it could be okay. If this data collection is an administrative process, you can imagine that people, public servants are not working during the weekend, and so that they do not register the imports, and they are going to be registered next Monday or whatever. Okay, so you might have a negative impact of a weekend, not on the imports themselves, but on the registration of the imports. Does it make sense? Because it's always very difficult to derive an economical point of view and an explanation of a series at an international level, because ASEAN is mixing the behavior of 10 countries. So it's always a bit difficult, for example, to start to speak about a calendar effect in ASEAN countries. You see that to try to derive an ASEAN calendar to adjust the ASEAN statistic would be very complex. So first question, does it make sense that you have an activity, less activity during the weekend for the imports, at least from the administrative point of view?
Yes, I think so, Dominique.
Yeah, okay. So the results, I'm not saying we know that the results are not correct because they do not take into account the specificities of each countries, but they are not stupid. I mean, they give you an idea which is coherent with your knowledge of the situation. Okay, so good point for that. Second thing, if I have a look to the outliers, I have 5 outliers, 4 out of which 4 are in the last year 2020, so linked to the COVID effect. I told you that I do not like very much the transitory changes. So let me check, let me try something. You know, I love to play with the software. So let me suppose, for example, that I go to specification. So you see the specification here. And I'm going that I do not, to say that I do not want to have transitory changes. Okay, so I do not want. So I will apply it. Let us have a look. You will do the same. So you will see what appears on your screen, what happens. I will apply it. And suddenly you see, it's incredible, the difference. You see, if I do not, let me come back, and after I will do it again. I restore. So this is what I have. You see, I told you that I do not like the trend cycle. I do not like it because it's nonsense. It's out the data. So it doesn't make sense. So I cannot blame GD+. GD+ is just an algorithm, okay? It's just doing a job, a statistical job. So it can be something. It's just a question of, okay, I do not like it. How can I correct it? If I suppress the transitory changes and I apply it, look, it will be completely different, okay? It's completely different. And now the trend cycle is much more in line with what we are saying, okay? Do you understand me? It's very, I understand that for you, it's very disturbing what I'm showing you, very disturbing. But do not forget that the COVID crisis is a very, very special time, very special time. And no software can understand what's going on because it's a very special event. And statistics is based on the past, and we never saw this kind of event. So you cannot deal very well with it. But you see that you can adjust. You can just tell to the software, I do not want you to do too much things, and that you can tune it. And if you remember, and you probably do not remember because we saw so many things during last week, but in a table at the end of the lecture on the outliers, I presented you a table with a different kind of outliers and how much they are they usual or not? And transitory changes are not usual. So for me, and I already said that to developers of GD+, for me to put transitory changes as a default is an error. The two only thing we should put is additive and level shift. After, we should accept everything, give the possibility to the user to change things, but not to take them as default. So you see the impact could be drastic. That's why, especially in these hard times with the COVID effect, you cannot just push the button. You must really precisely check the results and see what's going on. Okay, so what we are going to do now, let me continue. Okay, so we saw that we do have, so sorry, I'm changing everything. So if I go to the pre-processing, we saw that we do have a clear trading day effect. By the way, if I remove the transitory changes, you see that now the Monday is a bit positive. And for me, I mean, I know that we are not doing a good job with calendar effects right now. We should take into account the national specificities. Okay, I know that, okay? And we will try to do it this week. At least for one or two countries, I will try to build a very, very basic calendar. So here we see that our interpretation was that during the weekend, people are off, and so they do not register a lot, especially the Sunday. They register less imports than during the other days. So it's logical, it's completely logical that if Sunday, in this case, if Sunday is low, then Monday should be high, because people are going to do on Monday what they did not do on Sunday. So here it's better than it was, for me at least. The results are better than they were just before, because now Monday is significant. So it means that, yes, Monday is a bit higher than the normal. You see what I mean? Yeah. Yes?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, I see.
It was 1.8, yeah, before.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Monday is 1.8 before.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see it. You click on restore. Yeah, and I will have immediately 1.8. Okay, I can see 1.82. I remove transitory now, and I do apply, and I will have 2.2. Okay. So I have the trend cycle is impact of not complete of data submission. Not sure I understand what it means. You only have 4 countries submitted complete, but you have estimates for the other, no? Siska? No?
Pardon?
I mean, I saw what you were writing on the chat. So I see that you say that only 4 countries submitted complete data.
Yep. So until quarter 3.
And you do not have an estimate of the other when you compute ASEAN data?
No, we are not estimating data.
Okay. So when you, okay. So okay, it's important to say that, because it means that the strong decrease we saw might be due to the fact that you do not have a complete set of data. This is what you are telling me.
Yes.
But you see that I'm just, we are just discussing, okay? If you want, how can you comment the activity, the evolution of a series if you do so? Because you are not able in this case, and I understand why. It's not, once again, it's not a critic. When you cannot make the distinction between a downturn in the economy and the fact that you do not receive all the data. So you do not estimate. I'm just saying that I compare things, okay? For example, the Eurostat, which has exactly the same issue when you have, just aggregating data from member states and trying to derive an economic indicator for the zone, the Eurozone here, and for you, the ASEAN. When they do not have the data from a country, they estimate them. And you can estimate, for example, you could say, okay, I have only four countries, but I can suspect that it could be wrong, but just an estimate. I mean, I could make the hypothesis that the evolution of a complete set of four countries will be very similar. It could be wrong, I understand that, but it's the only hypothesis you can do, will be similar to the evolution of the 10 countries. Okay, so you will try to build an ASEAN figure around that. Another solution which is used by Eurostat is to say, I'm going to forecast any any missing countries using, for example, here you see you have for the ASEAN, but you will have it for any countries. For example, let me what countries is not in the set of data right now? You know, could you tell me one country? No, you have one or not in mind?
There is not yet submitted the data, or
Yeah.
Brunei.
Okay, let me. It's just for the exercise. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not judging anyone. It's just okay. So if I take Brunei, okay, this is the data from Brunei, but Brunei it's a small country, so I have to put it in my here, I guess. Yeah. Yes, I will change them. So I click on Brunei. Now I do have that. And if you go there to main results, if you go to the table, you see that, for example, you have forecast here. Okay. You have forecast of the data. Okay, they might be wrong. It's not what I'm saying. It's just forecast, and we are in a crisis. So the forecast could be not so good. But you have a forecast of a series. So you could perhaps use this forecast to construct the ASEAN aggregate. You see what I mean? But it's a huge work. I'm just giving you ideas, perhaps very bad ideas. Sorry, Siska, but just thinking aloud, okay? So let us come back to the ASEAN. So we know that we also have the forecast for the ASEAN. And if you want to have a chart, we will see all the forecast, okay? Here we have the forecast. So you see that, for example, JDemetra Plus do not tell you that things are going to improve very quickly. Of course, it's wrong. Of course, it's likely that you will increase very quickly. And I don't know if it will be very sharp or long, but you will re-increase very quickly. So these forecasts are not very coherent with what we know of the situation. Do you have do you have any question? No?
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is regarding the forecast.
Yeah.
What we have exercises trade data. And for example, we have Brunei not submitted Q4 2020, but can we have an additional information to put in this estimation? For example, we have growth GDP from Brunei,
Yes,
for example.
you could.
Can we put here and then to
yes,
yeah,
you could. You could. It's much more demanding from the statistical point of view. Okay, you must build a complete estimation process, but you could infer. I mean, imagine that you have now the last quarter of 2020, the GDP, for example. You can try to use this information, as you suggest, Fatou. You can use this information to forecast, if I can say so, to nowcast, I should say, to nowcast the last quarter decomposition of a quarter for 2020. You could estimate it. You are not going to take a big risk because Brunei is not a huge country. So I guess the exports and imports should be smaller than, I don't know, to be honest. I'm saying that, but I don't know. I should not say this kind of thing. I have no idea. But you see that you could, of course, even if you have a quarterly time series, you could try to infer the data, to use the quarterly data to infer the missing monthly data, and to have a complete information. You could. I mean, the statistical model is not very, very difficult, but it's not very simple too. Okay, but it's possible. Oh, I'm sure you have worked for the 10 coming years. Yeah, you have methodological. I mean, you can always improve that. It's not a big deal, you know.
In JDemetra, can we just put this
No.
additional GDP information here?
No, you cannot.
Oh, okay.
You cannot. At the moment, GD Plus is not able to deal with. You see, it's a seasonal adjustment software at the moment. It's not a time series analysis software, not yet. So it's mainly concerned by the seasonal adjustment problem. And what you ask is to try to use in the same time a monthly time series and a quarterly time series, and to try to make a link between mixed frequency data. And this is a technique that is not in this graphical interface. You can do that with JDemetra, but outside the interface. The interface that we are studying this week, is the seasonal adjustment interface. This is not you can do that with benchmarking. What you want to do is what we call MIDAS model, mixed frequency model. So you cannot, even in the benchmarking here, you cannot do it. It's not the same case. But it's possible, yeah. Some countries are already doing it. This is basically what you do, you know, when you try to temporal disaggregate in one series. You take an indicator. You do that very often. People of a lot of countries did that to reconstruct very long GDP time series. They use a monthly indicator, an annual, quarterly indicator, and an annual indicator, and they try to transfer the seasonal component, seasonality of a quarterly data indicator to the annual data, and they build quarterly national accounts for the backcast of the quarterly national accounts. So you can do it, but yeah, not easy. And not direct in.
Thank you.
Any other question? So what you can do the same. So for your country, do the same and report any question if you want. You can do that. I give you 5 minutes. It's a bit more complex. So I remind you what we did. We took the series, the import series. We just analyze it with X13. We had a look to the data. You look to the seasonal component. Do we have really a seasonal component? You look at the calendar effects. Does they make sense or not? And so on. And you look after, perhaps, if you can. If you have a strange behavior of a time series at the end, just report it. We will have a look together. Okay? So I give you 5 minutes to do that. And do not hesitate, really, do not hesitate to report any problem.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dominique.
Yeah.
When I saw your monitor,
yeah,
for ASEAN import, the method it's using X13, yeah?
X13,
Yeah.
RSA5C.
Oh, I saw only X13, but in Brunei import, it is written RSA 5C.
Ah, yes, you saw on my monitor is different. Yeah, I can explain you. Sorry, I just did it. When for the ASEAN, I was, I changed the specification because I removed transitory changes. You remember that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And when I went to Brunei, I had a question from JDemetra. Do you want to save your specification? So I saved my specification. And so it moves from ISR 5C to X13. So when I see X13, it means that this is not a default specification. RSA 5C has a very precise meaning. Okay, so this one X13 says that it's not a usual specification. I changed something. And what I changed is that do not look for transitory changes. Okay? For allow dataset, so I see a question. For allow dataset not invalid, what does it mean? Not invalid. Okay, I will check the allow dataset. Okay, so this is this one, I guess, no? LA. Is it this one? Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so what does it mean, not invalid? I do not understand the question. For allow dataset, not invalid.
Sorry, I found. Can you explain more? Hello.
So,
yeah. So allow data set for now we are invalidable data that program not see for the graph. So in the graphic, the chart not see for the information. Example, the 0102, example, the export, some imports, we cannot see for the data show for the charts. So in the chart, now only no data, but we check for the data set, we only have the information, but think for the program not so for the charts in the table.
sorry, Siska, I didn't get anything.
Yeah. What do you mean about 0102? Because we are using the aggregate data here. Are you using your own?
I mean, for the export, allow exports, the 01. Example in the animal, light animal, and
Yeah,
01.
you're using your own data. You are using your own data now. The breakdown by product. Not using. Yes.
So maybe I can share you.
You want to share
for now?
Okay.
Tari, can Lau share screen?
Maybe Dominique can stop sharing first and then.
Yeah, Pak. Dominique, I need to stop first.
Okay, I for share for the raw data now. So example one.
No. Take the last one. The last one, the very last one. At the end. No. Take RSA 5C. Yeah. This one, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah. One right.
Okay.
Example. Example the
Double click on the series. Yeah, if you want to do the chart,
okay,
you can double click on it.
So
you have nothing.
Yes. So double keys.
The series is
empty.
empty.
01 anymore.
You see that you just have you just have data in 2017.
17.
Can you show us the file, the Excel file?
Yeah. Can show for Excel file. So example for the normalize for exports. So we have some information. So now we have information like anymore for the 01, 02. It only have the information.
Let me show you down. Let me show the end of the data. Let go. No, go down.
Total the value.
Please go down. No, please go down. Show me the last data.
Yeah.
No, go back to Excel, please. Go back to Excel, please. To Excel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Show me the data. Get down now. show me the value for the recent years. Down. Show me for 2020. Show me down.
Yeah, in
No, I don't care.
In
Show me
2020
down.
was
Show me more data.
At the bottom of your Excel file, you go down. The current year. Mr. Yaifang, you go down. Scroll down. At the bottom of your data.
slow down.
Not the first sheet, the
But
export.
yes, but it was not this. Okay. Go up. Okay. It's not this one you were looking at. It's not. Okay. And get down now. Get down. Yeah. Continue. Continue. Okay. I don't. Okay. You are going to send me the data. Okay. Or to send Siska the data, and Siska will send them to me. We cannot react live. I mean, okay, I understand. I understand you want to work on your data. I understand that, but we should work on the same data, everyone. Okay. If you do not do that, I cannot give you any advice.
For this data, we send the data.
No, sorry. Just stop. We are not going to spend any time on data I never saw. Okay, so send the data to Siska. I will have a look to the data. I will see where the problem are. Okay, and please, during this training, try to use the data we are all sharing, because it's no use for anyone what we are doing right now. So let me investigate a bit. I will.
Yeah.
Okay. So send the data to Siska, and I will come back to you tomorrow morning. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And now, please go back to the usual data.
Stop.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so what we could do perhaps is a short break right now, okay? Because it's 11 for you, 11:20, something like that.
11, yeah, 20.
Okay, let us take 10 minutes.
Okay.
If I can receive the file from Lao, I will have a look. Yeah. But we should not work we should work together on the same set of data.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah.
Should be like that.
But I will investigate the problem. Because I do not see anything, in fact. So I will check that this evening. Okay. So see you in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ini baca break home boleh break nanti orang Malaysia mungkin ma
Is it okay? Shall we start?
Yes, Dominique.
Okay.
Please, you can start.
Wonderful. So I will come back to the screen, the GD+. What I would like to do is just to have a look to the Indonesian imports, just to finish the short discussion with Rizzi on the two bad values, to see what happens. If you remember, we had something bad in 2018, August and September. So the data were wrong in the data set. So we will see how GD Plus reacted on that. To close the discussion with Lau, so I will investigate definitely, okay? I will check what's happening, but please do not use, we are using the data sets that have been shared by CISCA. We are 19, so if anyone is using its own data without, and if the others do not see the data, it will be a nightmare for everyone. So I will be more than happy once again to answer to any question, really more than happy, but not during the course. During the training, we try to use our own data. If you have question, you send the question and the file, and I will answer, okay? So it's done now. Let me go back to the Indonesian series, if you don't mind. So I share my screen. I go back to, and I will go to check the Indonesian series. So this one, I guess, yeah. So I put it, you see, I put it there, and I check what's going on. So I guess this is the series that was wrong, okay? So what happened, we have to correct it. It was, of course, because it was wrong. But what happens is pretty good, is that it seems that we have 3 detected outliers. Let us have a look to which outliers it is. It is just one of them. August 2018 has been corrected. Let me have a look to the linearized data. So let me, sorry, the table. So you, I do not have a linearized. Is it, am I on the right or not? Yes, I am. I know it was 8, sorry. Okay. So you see that in fact it has been correct. We do not see the correction here, but we should see somewhere the correction of the data. We should go to the linearized time series. It's not in this table. Sorry, but I see, let me show you the correction. We should have the outliers. So unfortunately, it has been, the software took a log transform data, so we do not have exactly the, we do not have exactly the value, okay? It's too bad. I will check that. Once again, I will check that this evening, and I will come back to you tomorrow on this thing. But you see that it has been detected by the software. So it has been not corrected because the software will suppose that it is a true value. And so it has been put as an outlier, and this one was not so wrong. According to the other values of the series, it was not so wrong. So the software didn't say anything, but this one was detected as an outlier, and the trend cycle is not affected by this outlier. You see, it's pretty well done. So let me, because I'm on this series, let me try to comment it. So it's an additive, it's a multiplicative model, as you can see on the left. The series is much more erratic, basic, okay? You can see all the dots that can be very far from the average. So they are pretty erratic, but the seasonal component is clear. You see that the February is equal, you have a seasonal component around minus 10%, something like that, okay? So it's a clear component. Let us have a look to the diagnostic, but I'm pretty sure we will have things correct. So linear series, yes, mostly everything is okay. It could be that you have some hesitation here because of the fact that the series is very, very erratic, so you might have a problem, okay? Some difficulties to see for some indicator to clearly see the seasonal component. So here we do have a clear seasonal component. Look at the, oh yeah, it's interesting. Look at that. This is the combined test for X11. So you have a stable seasonality present at a 1% level, a stable seasonality present for the other tests. So the two first tests say that. The third test is okay with that. For the other test, it says that there's no evidence of moving seasonality, so it's not clear if the seasonality is stable or not. And here, identifiable seasonality probably not present. What does it mean? It's very curious to see that. Every test is okay, and the combined tests say, oh, I'm not sure. It's just because of the irregular. The irregular is very high, as we saw in the previous graph. You see, you have all dots everywhere. And so the software is just warning you that due to this irregular part, it could have some difficulties to detect the seasonal component. But as I am looking at the data, I'm not so bad. The results are not so bad. It seems pretty correct. So I do not, perhaps it's due to this big outlier. We will correct it in the raw data, and we will see that tomorrow if it changes a lot of things. So I will correct that tonight, this evening, and send back the data to Cisca so we can share exactly the same. So it's not so bad. Okay, let me check the other criteria. So as I told you, of course, I need to know if I have a residual time series. And here you can see that most of the tests are saying I have no residual seasonality in the data. Just one test is saying, yes, I have one. So what I will say, just I do not have the majority rule. I am okay. Okay. So now I have to check if I have calendar effects. I didn't see that. So let me go to pre-processing. So I have a trading day effect. Let me check if it's coherent with the others. Yeah, it looks very coherent. So it seems that we have pretty the same pattern than we had before with the ASEAN series. You see that Saturday and Sunday are negative. So I do have a weekend effect for sure. And I have a Monday which is a bit higher, probably due to the fact that we have less registrations during the weekend. So it's coherent, okay? I'm not saying it's good because we do not take into account your specificities, but the specificities, even the specificities of a country should not affect a lot this kind of shape. Okay. So now what we have to do is I will try, yes, do we have a residual calendar effect? So I can see that in this part of, so I have a summary severe, I will check that, okay, later. So it's because you see we have your QS test. One test is saying that we do have you remember that? If I go to ESA series, the first test is saying that we have a residual seasonality. So we find it back in the main result here. So in fact, as I told you, when you have severe, it means it's a warning. It's really a warning. So pay attention to that. For me, it doesn't matter so much because all the other tests are okay. So I would say that is okay. It's bad luck. You see, the F test itself is good. Okay, so I'm not very worried, and I have no residual trading day effect. And the M statistics are good, but very close to 1. So I anticipate we will have a look to that. But I have problems with the irregular. So let me check that. Remember, it's in decomposition, quality measures, summary. Just a bit, not so much on the irregular, but on the evolution of a seasonal component. So I go back to check that in the graph. And let me have a look. This one seems okay. You see, the evolution for December seems to be well taken into account. This one for November is not so bad. This one for this October, not so bad. It's not that bad, okay? It's not, the problem are all these points, you know? You have a lot of irregular, yeah? And probably it's going to give you, yeah, it's due, certainly due to the COVID crisis, you know. So we do, anyway, for a first run, I would say that it's correct. Okay, after we can certainly adjust everything and look at more precisely the point, but it's not, okay. for me, it will be okay. Do you have any question on the way we can check the things? I will do it again one or twice and we'll give you the room after to do your own experiments. If you want, I can, if you have some question, do not hesitate, okay? I can see that we have questions, perhaps, no? Where is my...
Thailand have question in the chat room.
Yes, but I do not see where is the chat room. Yeah, it's there. I work, okay, I work on THM and I found that my coefficient on trading day is not in pattern like, but in kind, okay, I go back. Okay, we will check. So you see everyone see the question. So I will go to the Thailand, for Thailand import. So I put them in my, okay, and I will check them. Okay, so these are Thailand data. You see that it's not a bad series. We have some trough here and here, but it's not that bad. I mean, I don't know what happened in 2018 in Thailand, but something was really wrong. Anyway, so let us have a look to the data. So let me check very quickly. So we do not have, you see, it's not multiplicative, it's an additive model. So of course, because it's an additive model, all the components like the irregular, the calendar effect, the outliers will not be expressed in percentage, but will be expressed in levels directly. In the previous case in ASEAN and Indonesia, for example, we had a logarithm transformation, so it was different. Okay, so we had a multiplicative model, so we could not see directly the impact of the outliers because they were expressed in the logarithm. So here, it's just the opposite. Everything is expressed in levels, so you have exactly the impact of a Monday. Okay, the coefficient of a Monday, one Monday more will increase the imports of this size. Okay, so I do not know if it if it makes sense, but you see it's significant when the Sunday is highly negative. So we do have a similar, I would say, a similar impact. If you want to see the impact in terms of in multiplicative terms, so you can change the model. Okay, so here in transformation, you see you click on specification. You go to transformation and you will say function automatic, auto. So you change it to log. You ask for a multiplicative model and a logarithmic transformation and you apply and it will change the data completely. We still have the impact, okay? And we have this. Okay, so we see now roughly the same thing that we saw before. Okay, is it clear for Thailand? The problem, it's not a problem. It comes from the fact that the software detected an additive model instead of a multiplicative model. So when you have a multiplicative model, you are going to transform the data in logarithm, and so you do not have things in real value in levels. When you have an additive, you see that in levels. It doesn't change a lot the results, I guess, but Is it clear for Thailand? Yeah?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other question? No? So here is okay. So everything seems okay. So let me continue to work on, we worked on the imports, ASEAN imports. Let us go to something different, okay? I will, for example, I will run another statistical method just to run everyone and check after, okay? New, I take the usual RSR5C, the one I take for monthly data. I will put all the trade statistics in them. I will run the things. It's okay, it's done. So now I can go, for example, to exports, ASEAN exports, okay? So let me have a look to the data. So I guess I have the same problem at the end of not all the data. Sorry. So let me comment it. So I have a trading day effect, no Easter effect for sure, and 3 detected outliers. So let me continue. So for ASEAN, for example, it's clear that I should not have an Easter effect. I do not see why in trade statistics I should have an Easter effect. So what I would do, I can show you what I would do, okay? But it's completely different. I will say, okay, I'm going to change to, we already did that once, so I will do it again. I'm going to adapt the ASEAN the specification for ASEAN, okay? So let me show you how I do that. I go to workspace. I say, I go to seasonal adjustment. I go to specification. I go to X13. And here I have the default specification. In particular, RSR5C and RSR1. RSR1 is the one we use for quarterly statistics. At the moment, we use RSR5C for monthly statistics. So I will clone it. I right-click, I clone. I have a new specification. I will open it, and I will change. So it's exactly the clone of RSR5C. So I will change it somehow. For example, I will say, I do not want the transitory changes because I don't like them. And I will change the calendar. I will say that I do not want the Easter effect, okay? So I do not want it. Up, I remove, untick is enabled, so I do not have now any Easter effect. And I say, okay. Okay, I can probably rename it. Yeah, so I rename it and I will call it ASEAN. Just to have in mind that I have a very specific specification for ASEAN, okay? And so now I will do the adjustment with only for ASEAN series. So for the aggregate, new. Here I will change and I will take ASEAN, okay? So it's a different specification. I will put my ASEAN series, the 3 ASEAN series. I put them in now, and I will run the adjustment with this new specification, no level shift, and so on, okay? Is there, I know I was quite fast, so is there any question on what I did? So you have a possibility to create your own specification and to use your own specification. So you imagine that you could create a specification for the trade statistics for each country, for any country, for the ASEAN aggregate. You can create a different specification for the quarterly data, for example, to adjust the GDP. You should, in fact, and you have your own thing. So it's in this kind of specification, I will show you later, probably tomorrow, how to integrate a national, at least a basic national calendar. Is there any question? Let me check on the chat. No, there's no question. So is it clear for everyone what I did? I will show you again. Is it clear for you, Siska, Leah, Fatou, and the others?
Yeah, but the name that you mentioned is not there, yeah? The ASEAN specification.
It's not there. It's written there, ASEAN.
Oh, here, the method. Okay, yeah.
No, not yet, not here. Okay?
Yeah. I see here.
It's
okay,
there.
yeah, under method. Okay. Thank you.
Any other question? So you see, we are tuning the specification. So the first week, we just learned a bit of the software, how to be comfortable with the software. And now we are playing with the specification. So it's a much deeper use of the software. And I guess, because I have no questions, so I guess that people, and I could see that with Lao when the person was working with JD+, it seems that you are comfortable. You can change things. You can. So it seems to be okay for me. Okay, what can we do now? We can work on, yes, I told you I would check now the exports, for example. So here are the exports for ASEAN. We still have the same, look, we have the same, roughly the same structure, but it's more, we can see this here, what we didn't see in imports. It looks like the export series is more regular. I mean, we see here in February, here it's in February 2. In February 2, you see here in February also. So we see really well the seasonality for the exports. It's much more regular than it was for the imports. For the imports, it was a bit tricky at the end of a series. So it looks more regular here, okay? So we do have it. If we have a look on the data, on the result, you can see here, for example, that we do not really have the same problem because I remove the transitory changes. So I do not have a problem we had last time for the first series. And I guess if I go to imports, I will see the same. I do not have a problem. You see the trend stay inside the series, close to the series, due to the fact I remove the transitory changes. And the seasonally adjusted series seems pretty good. We still have a problem here in August 2018. Perhaps it's due to the point because of the outlier in Indonesia. I don't know, just because, of course, if we correct Indonesia, we should correct ASEAN. That's the problem. Because but anyway, I will correct Indonesia inside. But I understand the reaction, Siska's reaction just before that we go, when you send, the member states send their data, they go through the ASEAN process. And now we will change a member state data without changing the corresponding aggregate, ASEAN aggregate. So the file, the complete file will be not coherent. But anyway, just for the sake of the, so you destroy the files at the end of the training. You do not use it, okay? So here, I do not see any problem on this graph, okay? Except that I don't like it, you know that. I do not really like additive models, so I would prefer myself a multiplicative model because it has not been transformed. If I do it just for fun, I should not do that, but I like to do forbidden things. So if I apply things, I have a change. Did you see the change in the series, in the results? You can look at this result, which is the result with a multiplicative model. If I go back, you have a result with the additive. You see? Yeah, you see the difference? You can play with the software. So let me continue with the additive model anyway. If I go to the pre-processing, I can check the calendar effect, if any. Yes, I do have a calendar effect. As you see, it is expressed in level, and I have really the same pattern I already saw on the imports and in Thailand, which is the fact that you have a different impact in the Sunday. So I could change things now. I could say, for example, just for parsimony, to have less regressors to estimate, I could say that in fact I could have the weekend versus the weekdays. So I could change, for example, you see, regression, trading day. I could change, in fact, changing trading day to working days. I could do that. I will do it just for fun. I do that, I apply, so it changed things. And now I have, you see, the weekdays against the weekend. So the weekdays, the coefficient is very highly significant, and the weekend days will have will be the opposite, exactly minus 6.90. It's the complete opposite. So I will have a positive impact of a weekday and a negative impact of a weekend. Okay, so it could work well. I don't know. I will restore it for the moment because I know the calendar is not this precise. Do you have any question on that?
Yeah, Mr. Dominique, sorry. If looking at the graph, especially monthly graph, it's always that the February is at the bottom. Yeah, is this because of the number of days in the month?
No.
Or what?
No, the number of days in the month is in fact a length of month effect. It's a calendar effect. So it's taken into account. Yes, yes or no. You have a leap year effect is a calendar effect, and the number of days could be an explanation for this low
trade value. Yeah?
It could be. It could be made, but yeah, you have 2 or 3 days less.
Yeah,
but,
2 or 3 days.
Yeah, so it could be. It could be also this. I'm a bit puzzled by that. It could be also an effect of Chinese New Year or the Tet, because it's celebrated in some of your country, the ASEAN countries. I do not know exactly, but I guess Singapore is celebrating the Chinese New Year. Vietnam, of course, has the Tet, and it's celebrated for a week, I guess. Singapore, I don't know if they celebrate completely the week. and probably in other countries. I don't know. And I don't know the impact of the countries in terms of trade statistics. I guess Singapore is a pretty big country, not sure. Just a guess. So you could tell me, for example, in the trade statistic, which is the biggest economy of the ASEAN country?
Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia.
Okay, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia. Okay, Indonesia does not celebrate the Chinese New Year. Yes, no?
Some people, yeah, but not many people, yeah.
Okay, so no. Malaysia, I guess no. Not sure, but Singapore is celebrated.
No, Singapore, yes, celebrate.
So it could be because it's a big country. It could have an impact in February, March, January, February. So we will see that later, okay? We could work on it a bit. During the short break, I had a look to, because as I told you last week, it's complex to build a calendar. It's really complex. So what I can do is for several countries to try to build a tentative calendar. But I will discuss that with Leah, Siska, and Fatur. I won't give you the calendar. I will build them for me. I will build them, and I will not give you them. We will work with everyone during before the next training to build a more serious calendar. But I could do something just to try to figure out what's going on. And to do that, I'm going to use this website. Let me come back. This is Zoom. Let me go to time and date. This is a website I use to build some calendars, because on this website I have all the holidays and events for countries. For example, if I say Singapore, Singapore here, yeah. Okay, so for example, I will go to, it's 2021. So you have here the national holidays. So you have a New Year, you have a Chinese New Year, the second day of Chinese New Year. After you have a Good Friday, seems to be celebrated in Singapore. You have Labor Day, and so on. So you see, I go to type and I just select the national holidays. So I have them, okay? I can, you have, for example, Hari Raya Puasa, which is, I don't know which is this
That's
holiday.
Ramadan. Hari Raya Puasa.
Ah, this is Ramadan. Okay. So it's celebrated. Okay, I was not, this is the first time I saw this name for Ramadan. Okay. And so probably you have some days, it's complex because, you know, for me, I can see that you have already 3 different calendars. You have a Chinese calendar here. You have the Gregorian Christian calendar with Good Friday. You have the lunar Islamic calendar here, and Vesak Day. Vesak Day, what is it? Someone can tell me?
I think Buddhist, yeah. Buddhist, Siska?
Waisak.
That is for Buddhist.
Hari Raya
Yes.
celebration.
Yes. So it is linked to the Hindu calendar, no, something like that. Yeah, it's a very specific calendar also.
No.
Yes, because it's moving across here. You see, it's moving. In 2016, it was the 21st of May, the 10th of May, and so on. So it's moving. So you see, you have a fourth. I'm smiling because in India, I had the same situation with 4 different calendars in the same calendar. So you have here some Buddhist calendar, you have the Islamic calendar, the Christian calendar, and the last one, the Chinese calendar. So you have 4 different. So it will be complex to build the calendar for Singapore. So I will not do that for this one. Perhaps Vietnam will be easier, if I can say so. Yes, it looks to be, because you have a Tet, of course, but the Tet, as far as I know, is very linked to the Chinese calendar. So I should find it, and I guess that you have another, the Ung King's Festival should be also linked to the Chinese calendar, to the Tet. It looks to be something like 40 days after the Tet or something like that. But we can, you see, it's not easy to derive a calendar, a national calendar. So what I will probably do is to discuss with Lia, Siska, and Fatur to choose one country and to try to do something, to build something, okay? I will give you a regressor for the Chinese week, on va dire, for Chinese New Year week, which should correspond approximately to the Tet holiday, the complete Tet holiday. So it's a week, a complete week, you see. It was it was this year between the 10th February and the 16th of February. So I could try to do that. Okay. Any suggestion? No? No, it's okay. So let's come back to this this series. So to summarize, we just change, we create our own specification for ASEAN, removing the transitory changes and removing the Easter effect to simplify things, okay? And so now I remind you how I check my time series. First, the first thing should be to see if it's seasonal. But obviously on this graph, I can see that February is very, very different from the other. So for me, there's no question, it is seasonal. I can check it with a diagnostic, seasonality test, linearized series. No problem, this series is seasonal. So it was the first thing, okay? The second thing is, okay, I did an adjustment. It looks pretty correct at the moment. I have no problem with the trend, no problem with, apparently no problem. So I can check if I do have a residual seasonality. So I go in this part and I can see that I have no residual trading day effect and I have no residual seasonality effect. So for me, from this point, it's okay. Now I continue. Let me have a look to the Q statistic, to the calendar effects. So if I go there, I go to the calendar effects, I can see that I have a negative Sunday and roughly a positive week. So it looks like we found a rationale behind it, so it's fine. I have some level shifts in my series. It's especially in 2020 because, of course, of a COVID crisis. So it's not surprising. So everything looks correct and coherent here. So now what I have to do is perhaps to have a last very short look to the summary statistics of Q. Everything looks okay except one. Some of them are very close to one, but it's not surprising. The opposite would be probably more normal to have high M statistics for the end of the series, for the seasonal component because of the end of the series. So it looks correct. This, as a first adjustment for this one, I do not detect any problem, absolutely any problem. If I go to the total, it's different, the total, because the total I could do it in two ways. I could say, okay, my total is either export minus imports, or I can seasonally adjust completely the total, okay? So if I do it, this is the total. So the total is the same. I have the same, it looks to be the same series, no? Let me check. No, it's not. No, it's not, okay. Okay, so the total are the exports minus the imports, yeah? Just to be sure.
Yes, plus import.
Okay. So we have a question here. Is the total import in ASEAN, the seasonally adjusted series, is it this series that I directly seasonally adjust, or is it the seasonally adjusted series of the exports minus the seasonally adjusted series of the imports? What is the difference between the two? I could do something. So this is the problem, is the problem we call direct versus indirect. So should I compute the ASEAN total, seasonally adjusted total directly, or as the difference between the seasonally adjusted exports minus the seasonally adjusted imports? It's a choice. What are you do nothing at the moment, Siska?
No?
At the moment, we do not seasonally adjust even for playing with numbers. No, you do not do. No.
No.
So we will have to discuss this choice. For example, I guess that the total of the ASEAN exports are the total of the exports of the zone or not? No, because it is completely reconstructed. I mean, the imports of ASEAN are not the sum of the imports of the countries.
Yes, it's the sum.
But Singapore can import from Vietnam.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
So it's not an ASEAN import. Just a question. It depends of your definitions.
They are still their trading partners, so we will compile it as the total import or total export.
So for you, okay. So it just to know. So the ASEAN imports are the sum of the imports of the ASEAN countries. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we can perhaps do something just to play with things.
Oh, benar juga ya. Harusnya kan ekspor ASEAN itu ya yang ke luar negara ASEAN sih. What did you do?
I will show you. You are speaking to me, I guess. What did you do? Let me show you before. I don't want you to do anything.
아이고.
So I'm taking all the imports, okay? I'm going to put them here. So here I have all the imports, okay? So I'm going to seasonally adjust them. Unfortunately, here it is with thermocytes, okay? But it's just for the sake of the exercise, okay? So I seasonally adjust them. And here you have two curves, okay? You see, I will show you after, okay? But now I'm just commenting the results. Here I have two curves. The green curve, the orange curve is that I just seasonally adjust the sum of the countries, okay? I take the imports for each country, I make the sum, I seasonally adjust it, okay? The green is that I'm going to seasonally adjust each series and I do the sum after. So the first one, I directly adjust the component of the seasonally, the aggregate. And the green curve, I adjust each component and I make the sum. And so you see that you have two different results. They are not so different, to be honest, okay? They are different. I'm not going to tell that the orange curve is equal to the green curve. But think about it, they are not so different. And I would say that if I have a choice to do, probably I will prefer the green curve because at the end, it's smoother, a bit smoother, you see? It's easier to anyway, this is what we call the direct versus indirect problem. And I will be very clear with you, there's no solution. You have to make a choice. You do the choice you want, but after you have no solution to tell you what is the best. You have arguments for the direct adjustment and you have arguments for the indirect adjustment. So this is a problem. I mean, it's not a big problem, but it's a problem. Okay, so you want to, alors why did I do it with the imports and not for the ASEAN between the total and the imports? And it's because I think I cannot change in this small exercise. It's just an exercise, this one. I cannot change the weights. So I can just make the sum. So for the imports, I should, for the total, make the difference, and I cannot make the difference. I don't think I can make the difference. That's it, okay? Just to show you, the problem is here. But obviously, none of your users will see the two curves. They will see only one curve. Okay, do you have a question on this thing? We will study it a bit later, okay? Probably Wednesday. It was just to show you. So let me continue with my, if you don't mind, what I could do for the last half hour, I could go through the imports of every country and discuss them with everyone, because everyone did the job, okay? So we can go now and go back to this one. I have all the series, I guess, and I can go through everything, okay? I will take the imports. Do you agree with that, Lia, Siska, Fatou? Yeah?
Yes, I'm agree.
Okay, so we will just study, for example, the imports. So here we are in Brunei, okay? So what do I see? I see immediately that the series has been log transformed. no trading day effect, no Easter effect, and just one outlier. So what is going on? Let me check with you. So here we do have some outliers in the graph, okay? We see some very, very specific points. So the series is pretty erratic. And we can see that it's not clear. The seasonal component is not very clear, okay? But here, for example, because of a scale effect, because this point, this one here and this one make the scale very large. So you do not see exactly things. But between this one is roughly 25% less than the normal. So it means that you should have a huge trading day effect. Even if you do not see a large difference between the red curves, it's just because of the scale effect. But you have a big difference between this one and this one, for example, between February and June. So my guess is that we should have a clear seasonal effect in the seasonality test, with perhaps some one or two disagreements, but I'm not sure. We'll see. Seasonality test, linearized. Yes, exactly what I told you. So you have some disagreement because the series is very noisy, but the majority rule is okay. There we have seasonality. So do we have a seasonal component really? Let me go back to that. Okay. I don't know really, but we will see that later. Let us imagine that for the moment, we have one seasonal effect, okay? So the correction was done. So I do not have any trading day effect. Let me check very quickly the other results. I have bad Q statistics. I will go to that, but usually it's because the statistics, there's a lot of irregular here, and the seasonal component is moving fast. I have no residual trading day effect and no residual seasonality effect. So from the statistical point of view, it seems that the results are pretty good. Now, let us pay more attention to the M statistics. So I go to the quality measures, the summary. All the statistics are bad. It's a lot. It's the first time I see everything wrong. That's why I'm smiling. Sorry. Why they are wrong? There's two reasons. In fact, this statistic tell you it's a warning. It's a warning that the situation is not so good for X11 filters. So these M statistic, the red lights here, are telling you check the results more closely, okay? So let me do that and go back to the result. So I told you that I have anyway, I mean, it's 25 less, okay, 25% less, but it could be that I have a seasonal component, but because of the irregular, perhaps I cannot really estimate it. Anyway, I have some kind of doubt, so I will try to check what is the size of a seasonal component. So let me go to the details. I mentioned that just once last week. So if I go to the details, I have a lot of statistics. I don't like them. This one, I like it, okay? This one is my decomposition of the variance of a series between the components. So here you see that I have no trading day effect. So the trading day effect are 0% of the composition, okay? Here I have 8%. So I should, for the pre-adjustment, which means the outlier. So I should remove it to compute the other, but you see that you have a pretty huge seasonal component, which explains at least 25% of the variance. So it's a pretty good seasonal component. It's a huge seasonal component. So we have a problem, and we come back to the question, to Rizzy's question last week. What can we do if we have bad statistics, bad M statistics? There's nothing you can really do in this situation. Let me try something. So one thing is telling you that the coefficients, seasonal coefficients, are moving quite fast. So let me have a look to the result more in detail. So to the graph. Let me. So you see that, in fact, what happens is that in each month, except perhaps the month of February, in each month you have a pretty large cloud of values, okay? So you have a very large irregular, very, except perhaps, as I said you, in February, which is pretty correct, okay? And that's it. After, it's difficult to see what is the...
Ini juga cakep nih. Oh, Aninde.
Excuse me?
Oh, iko. Pretty cakep.
Someone is speaking? No, it's okay. It's pretty good also in October, but all the others are pretty... you know, this one, I would prefer it perhaps a bit more this way. It's complex. The situation is really complex here. So usually what can you do? You can play with the blue curve. You can ask the blue curve to be, for example, more straight. So you can change some things. I will try to play on this first one first, just to show you the differences. I can change the moving averages. So I am X11, the seasonal filter, I can change them. So I can change for each one. I can, for example, change the first one, just to show you the difference, okay? Why it doesn't work? Yes, it's on the, it appears on the very upper left. Okay, let me just play with the first one to show you what's going on, okay? So I can change the filter. Let me imagine that I'm trying this one. Okay, so I do, it's done. So I close it and I apply it. So I took a 3x3. So very smooth. So it should be, you see, I just change a bit. Let me show you. So here you see how it is. Now how it was. So it's slightly different. So you can play with that. You can try to do, okay, let me try on the opposite, try to take a fix. Sorry, I'm lost. Here, I could not find it again. Okay, it's there. It's more, we come on a very complex thing. I should put that in the advanced course, but it was a question. So we saw what is X 3x3. Now let us take a stable, okay? So I say stable for January. So I have to close it, okay? And I say apply. So I will have a red curve here. Okay, so I have a red curve here. Does it change the M statistics? I'm not sure. Certainly not. A bit, you see. I had, everyone was green, was red. So this one are much slightly better, okay? So, but it doesn't change a lot. So you see how you can do. You can play with M statistics. We can play with a seasonal filter to try to improve. Let me try to do something different here. I can take a stable for everyone. Let us try to take a stable for everyone. I cannot change directly the MSR. Excuse me, I will close it. Let me show what's going on. I cannot change it directly. No, I have to, okay. Let me see, so if I just change the to stable, if I improve things, it's not sure, but it could be. No, it doesn't change a lot, okay? But it changed slightly, a bit, just a bit. Okay, so you can play, you see, you can play with a seasonal filter to try to have a better fit. But it's much more complex. So I will discuss that probably more in detail during the advanced course. Do you have, so is it okay? It's complex. So if you do not understand what I was saying, you're doing with VM statistic, forget about it for the time being. Okay, I can go through the others. Any question? No, no question. So I will go through with the other series. Let me go to the now Indonesia. So you see that because I changed things in the specification, now JDemetra is asking me, do you want to save your change? If I say yes, the specification will not be anymore RSA5C. So the software will change the name. Choose I've changed. I say yes or yes, I say yes. So it's X13 now. So now let's go to Indonesia. So we see immediately the result for Indonesia that the coefficients are moving at the end. So let us go to the graph first. So we have roughly a similar situation in the sense that we have a lot of outliers around things, but the seasonal component is pretty clear. I mean, we have a minus 10% in February and plus 5% in December and November. So it's not nothing. We should have a clear seasonal coefficient, but because of the irregular, it's difficult to make the difference. The variance of each of the things is large. Each of the seasonal coefficients is large, so it's difficult for the test to see a real difference. So I anticipate that if I go to the seasonality test, I will have some disagreement. No, it was not as bad as I had in mind. So the tests are okay, and they say, yes, we do have a seasonal coefficient. I was not sure, as I said, because of the size of the variance for each cloud. See? Because of this point, for example. It's difficult to make the difference between this one and this one because of this point. But anyway, it works. So we do have a seasonal coefficient. It's clear that the tests are okay. So I have, of course, a big, but we know which one it was, okay? So here it's going pretty well. We already saw the situation, but anyway, let me go through the results. So I have a trading day effect, 3 outliers, severe, we will see that later. So everything is okay here. The statistics are good. Yeah, the problem, we already saw it before, is the fact that we have a residual seasonal effect in the seasonality test. So let us see the complete thing. So on the A series, this is the only seasonal test that has a wrong answer. So the majority rule will say that it's okay. So let us say perhaps in the last period, see if you take the 3 last years, you have the same result. So it's okay. For me, it will be okay. I will apply some kind of majority rule. So after I have to check if I have, so from the seasonal adjustment point of view, it looks correct. But I saw that the M statistics were not so good, just because of the irregular and the evolution. So here, this coefficient is moving pretty fast, but we can see that it follows pretty well the curve. It's not so bad here. The adjustment is not so bad. Here too, here it's stable, so no problem, quite stable. Here it seems, I don't like it very much, but you have so many outliers here. It's difficult to have better, okay? And I will certainly not say it's stable. Perhaps, yes, I should say it's stable. And here it's pretty good. So I do not see real wrong behavior of the filters. Perhaps here only. I could change it eventually, but I won't. Okay, so for me, this seasonal adjustment looks clear, correct. I do not see any big problem. We know, unfortunately, that this value is wrong and we have to correct it. So let me do 1 or 2 series more. Is it okay? Do you have any question? You see now the rationale, my way of looking at things? Is it clear? Hello, hello?
Yes, clear.
Okay,
Yes, Dominique. Okay.
Let me take Lao now. Okay, we can see that you have more outliers here. The situation is really busy, I would say. You see that we have here an additive adjustment, and we have a lot of, I mean, the irregular is huge. So we can expect some problems. So let us see first if we can detect the seasonal component. Let's see that. Yeah, there's a seasonal component, okay? Let us see if it's big. So beware, it's very complex because you have a big outliers. So you have to remove that and to consider that this is basically 100%, okay? And so, yes, the seasonal component is 25%, basically, okay? I will comment later why the sum is not equal to 100%, but in this case, it doesn't matter so much. Okay, we do not, the seasonal component is pretty high, so we should try to estimate it. Okay. It seems that I have no calendar effects. Not reading the effect, no Easter effect, 3 outliers. The Q statistics are bad, but all the other tests are okay. So the Q statistics are bad, we know that, because too much outlier and seasonal coefficient, a moving seasonal coefficient. So let us have a look to the detail, the summary. Yeah, everything is wrong. Okay, we can try again to do something. Let me try to, if I try to go to a stable seasonal component, I'm not sure I can do it directly. Ah, yes, I can change it here. Let us choose for everyone the stable, okay? So I take stable. Yeah. Okay, it's stable, so M8 to M11 are equal to 0 because it doesn't move. So I cannot compute the size of the fluctuation. It's not moving, okay? So it's much better. I can do that. But it's not, I mean, it does not improve a lot of things. So perhaps I can play a bit. I can say, let me try this one. Apply. So it doesn't change things here. So let me try this one. Apply. So you can play, you know, you can do things, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. So this is because the series is as it is. I mean, a lot of irregular and a moving coefficient, and it's difficult to detect and to estimate the signal. Just remember the story I told you about the cell phone. Someone is speaking at the phone in the street. There's a lot of noise. It's difficult for you to estimate what the person is saying. It's just the situation here. There's no doubt there's a seasonal component. There's no doubt the person is talking, but you cannot really understand what the person says. So this is this kind of situation. What would I do in this case? I would check what's going on at the end to see if this part is I can interpret it easier. So here is my seasonally adjusted series. And by the way, it doesn't change a lot with raw data, you see. So, okay, I can take it. It doesn't change a lot, you see, the series. Look at this. The difference between the blue curve and the orange curve is not so big. So I would say, why not? I'm not sure you see, I came back to, it's not, I could take it, yeah, okay. It's not a big deal. But it's a difficult time series. This one is a difficult. So I expect that at the product level, it should be very, very complex, because if the aggregate itself is already very busy, it's likely that the components, sorry, will be more difficult to adjust. Let us go to Myanmar. Okay, I have nothing here. What's going on? Yeah, I have a series is there. Okay. What do I have? Nothing here. What's going on? I have a problem with my, it's a question of size. You see, I have a small one. I don't know what happened. I will change. Okay, go back. You see, it's because, sorry. Yeah, it's because I'm stupid. Yeah, it's because I selected a part. Okay, so I just selected a part of a graph. Okay, and but I was focusing on a scale which does not exist for this one. So I have nothing. But if I go back to the complete show all, I will see. I'm sorry, it's just a mistake due to the graphic interface. Okay. So yes, it's busy too. This one is very, very busy. So I will have the same problems. I mean, perhaps difficulties in detecting the seasonal. No, there's a seasonal component. Let me have a look to the main result very quickly. It looks good anyway. Everything looks good. But you see that probably the M statistic won't be wonderful. because the same thing, it means that you do not have a lot, you have a lot of irregular, but the coefficients are not moving so fast. So it might be not so bad. Let me see that. Yeah, it's not so bad. Some statistics are bad, but on the average, everything is okay. So this one, curiously, was very busy. I was expecting some difficulties, and we do not have a lot. So let's go now to this one. This one is Malaysia, yeah. So for the M statistics, it's pretty okay. As usual, we do have a problem for the fluctuation in the seasonal component in the recent years, but it's due to the COVID crisis. So it's not a big problem, if I can say so. So let us go back to the main results. So the situation is pretty correct. We can see the seasonal component on the graph. Here we do have a clear seasonal component due to February. So we should have no problem to detect the seasonality, that's right. If I go to the main results, I see that I have a trading day effect. So let me first check if things are okay. Things looks okay. We saw already the Q statistic. The thing I have to check first, I forgot to do it before, is the size of the calendar effect. So I do have, you see, I do have the same shape with a negative weekend and a positive weekdays, okay, mostly, okay? So this one is correct. So now you can see that it seems that at the aggregate level, in fact, all the countries, or most of the countries and most of the series share the same pattern. A lot of irregular, not so stable seasonal component, a trading day effect with a weekend, a negative weekend, a positive weekdays, and well, and that's it. And so you know that you will have some problem on the Q statistics because of the irregular and the evolution of a seasonal coefficient. But on the series I saw, it does not appear to be very serious problem. Okay, so up to now, the series are not easy, but we see it's not so difficult to adjust them. The point we have to solve is the calendar effect. Because we have a calendar effect, we have to build the national calendars, and it will be a tricky point. And basically, that's it. It will work. And after, we will have a direct versus indirect adjustment. But I'm pretty sure that we will have serious problem at the product level because of the irregularity and the volatility of a series. But we will see that, okay? We will see that. So I will stop today. We did a lot of things, okay? We already, for you, it's overwhelming. I'm pretty sure. But I can see the path you already did. Since the last Monday and now, just look at you playing with the software. It's just easy now. You're just clicking where, okay, sometimes I'm going too fast. I know. But I'm sure you are not lost. You see, okay, and you are able to redo the job. Where it is a bit complex is when you see that I put the puzzle and I'm going there to make the adjust, to make my own evaluation of the seasonal adjustment. But you saw this morning that in fact, if you are trained, you will see the patterns and you will recognize in a series the patterns. And I can tell you that the patterns are really different in trade statistics than in quarterly national accounts. They are much simpler in quarterly national accounts. That's why we try to start with quarterly series and national accounts. So to separate the learning of a software from the learning of seasonal adjustment. Okay. And so now, okay, it's there's some well, no, okay, we already. Okay, so I do not see any more questions, but feel free. Do not forget, Lao, to send Yevong. I do not know how to pronounce your name. To send the data.
I will send this email.
Wonderful. And you send them to me, Siska, and I will have a look tonight on them. Okay, tonight, this afternoon. Okay?
Okay.
So any question? No? It's okay? Perfect.
Yes. Okay.
See you
then.
tomorrow morning. Okay. Same
Yeah,
place,
see you tomorrow morning.
same time. See you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye,
Ciao.
Patrick. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye, Daisy. I see some pictures, so I can see. I do not see the people. I like to. I see a hand. Thank you. I like to see the people. Okay. So please, at the end, at the beginning, put your video on so I can see you. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
it's better.
Next time, take that. Keep that in mind for tomorrow morning. Cheers.
Okay.
Ciao.
Cheers. Ciao.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
Mute Siska.
Hah?
Suaranya nggak kedengeran.
Masa sih?
Nggak tahu di Agus nggak
Halo?
kedengeran. Ah, dengar.
Di YouTube cuma 3 orang. Mbak Tari?
Pagi ada 9.
Iya.